Alright, so here's why I think Chuck is a fantastic show. Because Chuck is a show about people. No one cares about the plot of Chuck. I just finished season 3 for the first time. And I remember that the basic main villain of season 3 was the Ring. I don't really remember who the main villain or what the overall goal or objective was of season 1 or 2. It's not about the goal, it's about the people involved in the situation. Chuck is a good show because Chuck, at his core, is a good person. It's refreshing to see someone playing a CIA agent who's just a nice, kind person who cares about his friends and looks out for those around him. Morgan is probably one of the best characters in the show because he's an idiot and a goofball, and he has his shortcomings, but at the end of the day, he cares very, very deeply about pretty much everybody involved in the situation. Casey is a good character because he pretends to be closed off and distant and pissed off all the time, but deep down he would die for the rest of the crew. And that's really unusual to see. It's a wholesome show, even though it's about fighting terror. Well, it's not about fighting terrorists. I would say the bulk of the plot is actually Chuck's relationship with Sarah. But it's marketed largely as being about fighting terrorists. But the real cream of the crop is the character interactions, the people showing how much they mean to each other. Devin, Ellie, Morgan, Chuck, they're all good characters because they behave in ways that normal people can really kind of aspire to be. They're kind and loving to each other, and that's so bizarre for a TV show like that. And don't get me wrong, I like my, edgy, angry reacts only shows just as much as the next guy. But you're not going to watch a show like 24 or Alias and have like a really deep message about why it's important to stand up for your friends and look out for them and take care of them when you can. Chuck's a good show because it's a show that makes it seem cool to be a good person and to be nice to people. And especially in an age where like a lot of media right now is centered around being edgy and dark and morally jaded and in a gray area and whatnot. It's just so nice to see a show that the entire plot is people just being nice to each other. And also sometimes they fight terrorists, and it's pretty cool. But that's kind of more of like a side thing. One of my favorite lines in the show is when Chuck explains why Morgan is his best friend. He says that after his parents left, Morgan invited him over to his house, and he didn't say much, but he just stayed up all night with him playing Legends of Zelda. That's, I think, really telling. Morgan is not a trained psychiatrist, obviously. He doesn't always know what to say. He's just a normal guy. But he cares about Chuck a lot. And in a way that is visceral. In a way that is normal. He's not a hero, per se, in the strictest sense. Morgan's not gunning down, ring agents or anything like that. But he is a hero in the sense that Chuck will be pretty much up the creek without a paddle without Morgan, just because of the emotional support that he offers. And to me, I think that's a big, big, big deal because there aren't enough shows like that. And that's why I think there should be a Chuck movie too, because it's a good plot. It's a good thing to have on TV. It balances out not even just other fictional television, but news and real life. It's nice to turn on your TV or your phone or whatever you're watching it on and just see people who come together in difficult times and let it make them stronger, let it make them more unified. Casey is probably one of the characters who grows the most from seasons 1 to 3, which is all I've seen so far. At the beginning of the show, he's basically a villain. He's ready to kill Sarah and potentially even Chuck if he absolutely has to. And by season 3, he probably wouldn't admit it out loud, but he's still basically best friends with Chuck and Sarah. He'd die for either one of them. It's just so nice to see a show that is about people being built up instead of broken down. Like, I like Walking Dead, for instance, but that's kind of the opposite of being broken down. Now, is Chuck a realistic show? Not really. I guess I can't say for sure, but I assume that's probably not how the CIA or NSA operates. But if you look at your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, if you're lucky, maybe your interactions with them are probably a lot more like Chuck's interactions with his friends and his neighbors and his coworkers are than certain other characters. And I think, especially for younger audiences, I think it's really important to promote this idea of positivity, because it's a dark, negative world, but I don't think it has to be. It would be nice if there was more media out there that promoted the notion that it can be a little less negative and a little more positive if we're willing to fight for it to be that way.